Hey CCC, hope you are having a great week as we're expecting to celebrate Easter here coming up at the end of the week and Jesus' resurrection from death and from going down into hell for us and coming back up. And so as we continue to look at that in Jesus' final week before his crucifixion, you know, there was, as he entered and he was in the Holy Land, he encountered many things from the chief priests, the elders of the law, and others that were coming against him. And they were really questioning not only his words, but his actions. And they also questioned, you know, the authority by which he was performing miracles. They were questioning the authority that he had to speak when he would be giving his preachings. And they were questioning his authority and by under what authority he could do these acts, that he could perform these miracles, and that he could speak in such a way. And so in Luke chapter 20, verse 2, it says that the chief priests were questioning him and they said, "Tell us by what authority you are doing these things. What has given you this authority?" And it continues in verse 3 and says, Jesus replied, he says, "Well, let me ask you a question. Tell me, John's baptism, was it from heaven or was it from human origin?" And the religious leaders took some time and they processed that question. And in verse 7, they responded and they said, "We don't know where it was from." And then Jesus responded and said, "Well, neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things." And so Jesus didn't feel that he had to respond, but at that moment, his authority was being questioned. And they were trying to trap Jesus. The religious leaders were trying to trap Jesus into saying something that by which they could say that that was blasphemy and that they could get him to be thrown into jail and get him to be silenced primarily because they did not like the message that Jesus was bringing. And a lot of it was because they just didn't understand. And he was going against what they were saying, and preachers and holders of the law, the Old Testament law, and Jesus was speaking a very new message to them, and they were questioning that his authority and where these words were coming from. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when we have struggles and we have problems, we pray to God and we say, we need us to help us. We want him to help us, whatever our struggles may be. And we have to hold fast that though we may not be getting the answers that we want from God, we have to hold fast that he's going to provide us the answers that we need, maybe not necessarily in our timing or the way that we want. But when we don't get those questions, I don't know about you, but I too have sometimes wondered, man, Jesus, where are you? And where's your authority? Where's your ability to act and have power? And I question that because Jesus is not responding. God is not responding in the way that I desired for him to respond. So I could become upset with him. I could grumble. I could, just become frustrated that God is not giving me the answers that I want. Similar to these religious leaders, that Jesus wasn't giving them the answers that they desired from him. Sometimes we don't get that from Jesus, and we can grumble, we can complain, and I don't know about you, but sometimes that makes us fall away from Jesus. But in those moments and in those times, we have to still hold true and fast that God knows more than we know. He has a greater perspective than we have. And in those moments, though our human infinite minds cannot comprehend everything, that is where our faith and our trust in God must come through. That he is the power, that he is the authority that has been given because he is the creator of the world. And hold fast to that and just say, I will trust you to bring your answers to me in the time that I need them. So I don't know what's going on in your lives this week, CCC. I don't know whether you have some family issues, or you have work issues, or different things that are going on. But I tell you that if you have struggles and questions with God, you can take them to him. He's big enough to handle that. But even though you question him, and though you may wonder, and may you have questions that you need to ask, hold true that he is the authority, that he is in power. He has a perspective greater than we have. And that we hold true to that even in our questioning, to love, care, and respect God for who he is.